Welcome to the Astana Times YouTube channel. I'm Aida Haidar, reporting from the Astana Think Tank Forum, dedicated to exploring the role of middle powers in changing global order. This forum brings together diplomats and policy experts to discuss how countries like Kazakhstan are adapting to an increasingly multipolar world. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev emphasized the growing importance of middle powers in the world facing increasing polarization and weakening multilateral institutions. According to Tokayev, while major powers are preoccupied with rivalry or unable to reach a compromise, middle powers often step in as mediators, helping to uphold the fundamental pillars of global cooperation.
As the world becomes increasingly polarized and as multilateral institutions weaken, the role of middle powers grows. When larger powers are locked in rivalries or unable to reach consensus, it is often middle powers that step in to maintain dialogue, mediate disputes, and sustain the frameworks that uphold global cooperation. Kazakhstan has long embraced its role as a prominent member of the international community with a clear sense of purpose and responsibility. The key pillars of our foreign policy are independence, multilateralism, regional stability, and diplomacy. In this regard, we strongly support the United Nations' central role as the world's sole universal organization driving global cooperation and progress. We believe that constructive engagement with all major partners is essential to fostering long-term peace and prosperity both in our region and beyond.
While not a superpower, Kazakhstan has carved out a role as a mediator and facilitator in international diplomacy, most notably through its efforts to host peace talks and its strong stance on non-proliferation. These efforts are part of a broader aspiration to help resolve global challenges while promoting stability and dialogue across borders. Kazakhstan's strategic location and its role as Central Asia's largest economy give it significant potential in the global arena. Experts at the forum discussed how middle powers like Kazakhstan are uniquely positioned to contribute to global stability, particularly by forming coalitions with other nations that share similar goals.
Kazakhstan is a middle power, not because its rank in the hierarchy of economic powers in the world, simply because it is the biggest economy in Central Asia, because its space and because its potential. And I would add because of its geographic position. That is to say, for me, there is a corridor of the middle powers from, let's say, South Korea, Australia, Japan, to Germany, Spain, France, UK, and between those two poles you have Saudi Arabia, Iran, Turkey, and Kazakhstan. And Kazakhstan is in the middle of the corridor of middle powers. And Astana could do something with that, especially in coalition maybe with another new middle power such as Indonesia, because both countries have a vested interest in stability and the good functioning of the global order.
The discussions here highlight the importance of middle powers finding their voice in an increasingly fragmented world. With major powers locked in competition and distrust, there is a growing need for nations like Kazakhstan to fill the gaps left by the great powers and lead efforts to build bridges through dialogue.
The voices of middle powers are quite important because in the given geopolitical context, when we see so many crises, so many turbulences, when the entire world is on the brink of war or nuclear war, and this situation was or is created due to the reluctance or lack of trust or absence of trust among the biggest powers, or nuclear powers, so to say. And in this context, in these circumstances, the voices of the middle powers are quite important to fill the gap created by this reluctance, by this lack of or absence of trust. And middle powers, I think, the only mechanism or the only one category of states which are able to mobilize the entire international efforts or their own efforts, regional, or to create coalitions to try to mitigate the crisis and try to convince those bigger powers or those who take decision in the global policy to come to a table of conversation for the diplomatic means and to find the way out.
Kazakhstan has particularly positioned itself as a proactive host of such international discussions, regularly organizing forums on economic cooperation, religious dialogue, and security. These events provide an opportunity for a country to showcase its capacity to mediate and create spaces where constructive conversations can take place. The Astana Think Tank Forum is just one example of Kazakhstan's broader efforts to contribute to global governance by facilitating dialogue between nations and regions.
At the very beginning, Kazakhstan started behaving as the responsible member of the international community, and you can recall the initiative of getting rid of the nuclear powers, the nuclear arsenal, and it was the very first step in its disarmament and becoming a nuclear weapon-free country. Apart from that, we initiated creation of the conference on confidence-building measures in Asia, and many other steps, and we can recall the other initiatives by the head of state, like creating of the International Agency for Biosafety and Security, or Almaty United Nations Center for Sustainable Development Goals in Central Asia and Afghanistan. This means that Kazakhstan does not stand, on the on the side of the international process, be it regional or sub-regional global process, and Kazakhstan tries play its role as the middle power because we have enough capacity and we are friends with all and enemy to none.
Kazakhstan's emergence as a middle power is recognized globally not only for its economic growth, but also for its proactive foreign policy. The country is investing in human capital by sending students to top universities and diversifying its economy beyond oil, building a strong foundation for future growth. Its strategic location combined with its peace-building efforts makes Kazakhstan a key player in Central Asia and beyond.
There is an ongoing war, geopolitical war, not in terms of territory, but in terms of human capital. Yes, in terms of mindset. That's why we send our young citizens abroad to study in best universities. That's why and President pointed out many times that we need investment in non-oil sector. That's why we, as a first deputy minister, pointed out that we need to build more complex economy. And all this stuff needs high level quality of human capital. So in these terms, I believe that we can enhance our capacity as a middle power, because that brings high quality of our government management, of our diversification economy, of our education, etc. So it's all about human capital right now. But this is just only one criterion. If we talk about the other ones, it's our transit capacity, our strong position to bring peace in the neighborhood. It's a huge challenge to us. So we need, in order to overcome this challenge, we need to be much stronger than that we used to be.
The forum's discussions also touch on the broader implications of the rise of middle powers worldwide as they gain influence in both economic and diplomatic spheres. Experts argue that this shift could be a stabilizing force in the global order.
I think that there has been a rebalancing of economic power in the world by the growth and development of many countries which are now reaching the status of what one could call middle powers. And this is happening at a time where there is a growing competition and even competition between great powers, or those who are generally associated with the idea of great power. And also a blocking of the UN Security Council and of many other areas of cooperation. So I think it would be a good thing for the world economy, but also global stability, if middle powers, emerging middle powers, which are now much more powerful economically and perhaps diplomatically, take an increasing role in the mediation of conflict, the stabilization of crisis. I think they are able to do that now. They were not able to do that 20 years ago. And I hope that some of them will use their growing power for the greater good.
Kazakhstan's diplomatic track record reflects its ambitions to act as a neutral platform for peace and dialogue. It has consistently sought ways to use diplomacy as a tool for stability and cooperation. However, the path forward is not without the complexities, as the country must carefully balance its relationships with larger powers while continuing to advance its own national interests and global commitments.